Okay, hey guys, it's Melinda Chen.
And EX Shadow.
And today we had a tag team tournament at our locals today. And we knew about this a few weeks in advance, so we tried to think of some ideas to prep against what our friends normally run.
And around the same time, she had heard about a deck that basically stalled and used a lot of bounce cards. It was called Troll Bounce, according to the guy who made the video on YouTube. And she loved the idea, so she made Troll Say.
Troll Say.
A variation of the guy's deck.
And I just like sometimes to go against the meta because some people are just so serious business with it, so I kind of want to make something that'll give me a bit of a laugh and, you know, trolling. So, I'm not wearing my gloves.
It's okay. I'm not either.
So yeah, we're gonna do deck profile of both of our decks that we did today, and I'll cut to show you that. So.
All right.
So first things first, before I go into the deck, I would like to talk about how an idea I had a long time ago is sometimes I've been to some more competitive tournaments, and I noticed there's a lot of guys that ran those. They had Dark Magician Girl mats, but they weren't like, you know, official Dark Magician Girl mats. They were like fan art with like big boobs and over-exaggerated proportions. There's a really popular one where she's on the beach, and there's another one where she's just like chest in your face. And as a female player, that just kind of makes me feel a little uncomfortable, because it's just like, okay, well, for guy players that's a distraction because they just want to look at it, but for girls it just makes me feel awkward. So I was like, I want my own distraction mat. So
our good friend Christine, who is a wonderful artist.
Yeah, she goes by Slifer the Sky Dragon on DeviantArt. She drew me this. It's my my Yusei pinup mat, and it's got owls because I like owls.
Yeah. There's an owl. There's an owl. There's chesticles. There's a little hidden owl. There's little hidden owls.
It's a good conversation starter. And
I know. It's like, hey, Melinda, I have a hard-on for Yusei.
And so, yeah, this is my trolling mat. It's great when I'm running up against someone who's irritating me, so, because, you know, it happens.
Mm-hmm.
So, my trolling deck I ran today. Oh, and here's another thing I did, is, since we were dressing up as Jack and Yusei, people were kind of assuming, oh, you know, she comes and runs character decks. They're probably going to run a Jack and Yusei team deck. We made them think that way until we started playing. So, we went ahead and we did keep having an extra deck, even though, actually, I don't need an extra deck for this, except for the exception of Stardust Dragon for Starlight Road, and I'll show that. But, you know, it's like, I'm not going to get these out, but, you know, opponent's going to think, oh, they've got some sort of thing going on over here, but
nope.
Really didn't. Nope. And, oh, well, I'll show what Kyle did. He has a stack of 15 tokens. He didn't need anything.
They might come in handy.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, you didn't use the tokens on that one duel. You had that.
No, I kept forgetting them.
Yeah. But anyway, so here's the deck profile. Let's see. 2 Spirit Reapers.
I don't know if you heard that or not, but my stomach's rumbling. Let's get some food after this.
2 Marshmallons. I have 2 Shield Wings because it's, well, that's another thing. Yusei is really, really big into stalling, if you haven't noticed in the show. In the Yusei versus Yusei duel I had in the past, I won because my strategy was to deck them out with basically all his stall cards. I made a wall of things like Shield Wings and stuff like that. And, let's see, got 3 Battle Faders.
Borrowed it from Jack.
Yeah. No, not all of these are Yusei cards, obviously. It's mostly Shield Wings and, like, a few others.
Actually, not a whole lot at all,
no,
but
it's not. It's not a Yusei deck. It's all about kind of
trolling.
Make my opponent
Penguin
think
Soldier is wonderful. He bounces 2 cards when he's flipped up. He can actually bounce himself if your opponent only has 1 monster that you want to bounce. 3
Cyber Larvas. And let's see if you want to explain that one. It's kind of like a, you know,
Cyber Larva.
It's destroyed and you get another one.
He protects you from damage for the turn that he's destroyed, and then he automatically searches the second one. So
yeah,
he could potentially stall you for 3 turns.
Granmole, he's the ultimate bouncer.
Ultimate, you could say.
Say getting into magics. I got a Reborn, 2 Swords of Revealing Light, 3 Books of Eclipse. Yeah.
It's wonderful. Reuses your Penguin Soldier.
3 Kaiser Colosseums. Good, because then I can only just have one thing and opponent can't swarm.
Yeah.
Threatening Roars. Do I only have 2 or is it the other one hidden? Oh, I guess I only have 2. 3 Wabakus.
That's weird. I thought you did have 3 Threatening Roars.
Is it in my... Well, I don't know where it went.
If we find it, we find it.
Okay.
2 or 3 Threatening Roars is good for the deck.
For some reason it's not.
Okay.
I don't know if it's in the deck box or not. 3 Compulse.
I might have cut 1 Threatening Roar out because originally the deck was at like 60 and we wanted to cut it down.
Yeah.
So we had a bunch of ideas, but not everything will fit.
With what Kyle ran, I didn't need to have 60 cards because the goal wasn't to deck out the opponent. It was just to basically give him a defense for what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
So that was the point of this deck, was I was just the defense in the tag team.
Yeah, and the Dark Bribes are good protection against stuff that threatens her back row or mine. Any kind of threatening spell or trap cards, basically.
Scrapper and Scarecrow is one of my favorite you say stall things.
And it warrants an MST.
Yeah, it wastes people's
People
MSTs
want
and
to
things.
lightning rod that thing.
Yeah. Solemn Judgment. Here's my Starlight Road. And 2 Spell Vanishings.
Spell Vanishing was actually hilarious. We didn't think it would work as well as it did, but it's got a high cost, but it's basically an exchange of 3 for 3. You activate it, it stops the spell card at spell speed 3, so they can't stop it unless they have a Solemn Judgment or Dark Bribe or something. But you discard 2 cards to activate it, and then not only do you just negate the spell card that they've played, but if they have copies of it in their deck, you get to look through their deck and field and everything. I think it's deck in hand, actually, and send any extra copies of it to the graveyard. So we initially put this in for MST, or if someone's running like a deck that runs 3 of something by standards, then we do that. We ended up going against a Chainburn deck, and this was our salvation because his Chainbird spell card, I forgot what it's called specifically, but it was like a quick play.
Big damage.
It did big damage based on its chain link, and so he was obviously running 3. We managed to use this twice on him, 2 different duels, and got rid of all of that one. Anyway.
So that's that, and I'll show you what our this side deck is.
Yeah.
Because there's so many different ways that you can build a deck like this.
Yeah, the main strategy we employed is get big stalls that are chainable, and then some counter stuff against their spells and traps. And the counter monsters are basically in our traps and monsters. Basically put out walls like Spirit Reaper and Marshmallow. Activate Wabaku's Threatening Roars to stop big plays on their part.
We have 3 Effect Veilers.
Yeah, we put in an Effect Veiler against just opposing monsters that have obnoxious effects.
We needed to get them because we had the person doing the Chainburn
also had a Morphing Jar.
He had a Morphing Jar. We're like, that's bad news bears there.
For my deck anyway, which we'll be talking about in a minute.
So, things like that. Nimblemungas.
Nimblemungas.
Another
just in case you needed to actually gain life points in the process.
Yeah.
Probably take your shield wings out for those.
Mystical Space Typhoons. We have 3 because we don't want to do anything like Heavy Storm where we destroy all of our protection. But it's helpful if your opponent happens to use something that could
be obnoxious.
Yeah. Chain Disappearance, there's 2 of those. Yeah,
Chain Disappearance at 2 is good because there's a lot of decks nowadays, even in the top meta, that run small monsters that make big plays. With wind-ups, half of their annoying monsters, like Rat and all those, are low attack. You could stop a loop by getting rid of the rats. Insectors, their 2 biggest, baddest contenders, Hornet and Dragonfly, are both under 1,000, so you get rid of them with Chain Disappearance, their deck's done. And then everybody splashes Tour Guide, which is right at 1,000, so you can get rid of their tour guides. Solemn Warning obviously gets rid of anything, so it's always good. Torrential gets rid of everything. Bottomless gets rid of the heavy hitters.
So, but actually, it was surprising because people who did tag team today did not run what they normally did. It was something that they ran rarely. So they're kind of the same boat.
We were making our meta calls based on what we thought the normal meta for our local was. And normally people played Beat Stick, Insectors, occasionally Wind-Ups, occasionally Dark Worlds, usually some Six Sams, and then other just random beat decks. So we were expecting to be able to stall out pretty easily without too much side decking at all.
And the guy who ran Chainburn, we actually rarely ever see.
Yeah, the Chainburn guy had only made an appearance maybe 3 or 4 times. You can see me in the window. I'm outside.
But I can get on to your... Do you want me to switch so I can record, or do you want me to just lay them out and be all pretty?
I could probably handle it on my own.
Okay.
You can lay them out. But yeah, surprise, surprise, I ran Exodia. I was thinking about it because initially Melinda was the one who decided to make the stall deck, so I was like, well, what can I run alongside a stall deck that would still troll people and maybe get them a little bit edgy, anxious to beat us? And I just came to Exodia. I was like, you know what, he's been around since the beginning, and anytime I've ever faced an Exodia deck, I didn't care how experienced I felt like the other person was. There was always that sense of, does he have every piece yet? Is he going to draw the next piece in his next turn? Oh my gosh, you never know when it's going to happen. So it's that sudden death feeling that just puts people on edge. And it's just so trolly all on its own.
It's like when you do get it out, it's a pretty awesome feeling.
It's pretty awesome feeling. And in our round against the Chainburn guy, I got him out first duel, but I ended up drawing through my entire deck, and the right leg was at the very bottom.
So it was a very lucky...
It was a long and lucky, drawn-out duel.
In the other 2 duels that we had, we actually ended up losing that match.
Yeah, I would get to 4 pieces, and that last piece would be evading me, and he would manage to burn us down before I could draw the last piece. And the way that this tournament was set up is that we, as a tag team, we had 8,000 life points as a team instead of individually. So it made it very dangerous against a burn deck because he could wipe us out a lot faster. And it made it twice as dangerous for our particular variation of Exodia because I was running Hope for Escape, which basically draws more cards based on our life point difference. So I actually had things that would take our life points down as well and give them more life points. So I was doing half of the damage on my own. So I was actually asking for him to burn me to death if I wasn't careful. So it was really a gamble based on, could I draw more because of the damage that he had inflicted on me and I had inflicted on myself, or would he just do more damage and take me out before I could draw enough?
But so, it was a pretty fun duel. It was
really fun. The other guy with the burn guy, was running 6 Sams, so we couldn't, just scoff at him. He was dangerous too. But we managed to keep him at bay, and the burn damage guy usually ended up being the bigger threat.
Yeah.
So let's show the rest of the deck for Exodia. Obviously, he needs an engine, and there are a lot of Exodia engines out there. But I want to give a shout out to Gerald Pro Winston, who was at Worlds recently, and he ran this exact deck. I didn't change a thing. I thought he did a beautiful job, so I basically net decked it from him. And I give you props, dude, because I know you've taken a lot of slack from this, but you deserve some excellent compensation for that running Exodia at the World Championship, man. I think it was actually a pretty good meta call, and you get a pat on the back if I ever meet you in person.
These are all the monsters.
Yeah, monsters were the pieces of Exodia. Sanguine to search one of the pieces, and Swift Scarecrow, who discards himself from hand to graveyard to end a battle phase when you take a direct hit. And he's good for stall.
But yeah.
Going on to spells and traps. Not very many spells. Keep Exodia out there. Yeah. He's pimping. We run 3 Pot of Duality, which is very obvious. This deck isn't quite as fast as some other variants, so 3 Pot of Duality is totally cool. We just sit back and relax, and I like it because it gives more options. And Pot of Duality is going to 2 this next format, so this was as good a time as any to run 3. ran 3 Upstart Goblin. It was obvious because it gives us an easy +1, and the plus 1,000 life points that it gives the opponent was actually to our advantage because it works well with Hope for Escape, which I will talk about in a little bit. 1 Day of Peace was actually our saving grace against this burn guy because it said you do not take any damage. Neither player takes any damage until the opponent's next turn ends, and both players get to draw a card. So that means effect damage as well as battle damage, and that was our only out because we hadn't really side decked anything against effect damage. So anytime I activated that, I was breathing a sigh of relief.
So that's all?
Those are only spells. The rest of it's traps. Because it was all about chain ability. I tell you, me and the chain burn guy were running a chain gang here. I would activate, he would activate, I would activate, he would activate. It was pretty hilarious.
I didn't feel like I ever had a turn because...
Yeah, it was basically me and him going back and forth most of the time. So we ran 3 Wabaku to stop battle damage. Good chain ability. Threatening Roar, basically the same thing. Stops a battle phase from happening. Good chain ability. Jar of Greed, free +1. Well, not +1, it's a 1-for-1, but still, thins the deck out. Legacy of Yatagarasu does the exact same thing. And if by chance I was running Spirits, it would give me an extra card, but I didn't really have a need for Spirits, so it was just another Jar of Greed. Reckless Greed. This was chancy, but I usually only activated it if I had 2 or 3 at once. Basically, the way this works is you activate it, you draw 2 cards, but then you skip your next 2 standby phases. And people would think initially, well, that doesn't sound very beneficial, but if you have 2 of these, or 3, they go off of the same 2 standby phases. Because it simply says in the effect, you skip your next 2 standby phases. Doesn't stack. So, I flip 2 Reckless Greeds, I draw 4 cards, I still only miss my next 2 standby phases. And say I activate one turn, go through a standby draw phase. I didn't mean standby phase, I meant draw phase all the time. Anyway, if I would draw 1, then I'd activate more, then that would just go back to 2 instead of 3. So this was a beautiful card because I found myself gathering 2 or all 3 pretty easily. Gave lots of good advantage. Then there was Accumulated Fortune, which only activates a chain link of 4 or higher. And for anyone who doesn't know much about chaining, for all you new guys out there, you basically start a chain of resolution in effects if one card is activated in response to another card. So say I activate a Wabaku, and then I chain to my Wabaku with a Reckless Greed. It starts a chain, and this is chain link 2, this is chain link 1. So say that I keep activating cards with different names, because that's what this calls for, and I get to chain link 4. If I activate this at chain link 4, or higher actually, so it didn't even matter if it was right at 4, it could be higher. As long as every other card that was in the chain before link 4, as long as they all had different names, I would get the effect of this and draw 2 more cards. Sorry for the long and winded explanations. I'm just making sure that you guys aren't lost here. And then there's Hope for Escape, which was the core idea behind this deck. Hope for Escape, sorry for the glare guys, Hope for Escape, you pay 1,000 to activate it, and then, based on the difference in life points between you and your opponent, you draw 1 card for every 2,000 life points that your opponent has over you. So say I had 4,000 life points and my opponent had 6,000 life points, I would only draw 1 card. If they had 8,000 life points, I would draw 2 cards because that's 4,000 difference. And in this game, we had some real fun. I at one point had my opponent up to 17,000, and we were down to like 2,500 or something. So I drew, at the very end of the first round, I drew 7 cards off of my last Hope for Escape, and that evenly took out the last of my deck and got the last piece of Exodia.
And then one of these was borrowed, but we had 2 of these.
We had 2 gift cards, and I borrowed a gift card from my friend, and I spent it well. It gives the opponent 3,000 life points. So this is part of the strategy with Hope for Escape, is you activate Hope for Escape, and then you chain gift card to it so that gift card activates first. In resolution, resolve backwards. And they gain 3,000, you lose 1,000, that gives you 2 cards automatically. And what's really neat about Hope for Escape is that as the duel wears on and you play more cards that give your opponent life points and more things happen to take away your life points, each successful Hope for Escape generally draws more than the last one. or at least that's how you want it to run. Or if you can hold out long enough, try to activate them all mid to late game after you've got like a huge life point difference, and then just start trucking through your deck. But it's tough to make that call because you don't always know if you're going to last that long. So sometimes you just have to play it and get your 1 or 2 cards while you can. So that was pretty much the deck.
Yeah,
The side deck for our Exodia Hope for Escape, I like to call it Hope for Exodia.
Yeah, I don't know if we mentioned it, but Christine actually drew this map for us too.
Yeah, and this is an old favorite of mine. It's a Red Nova Dragon, and she did a ridiculously sick design on it.
She's really good at drawing monsters.
Dragons in particular. I actually have told her numerous times that I want her to draw me a Slifer the Sky Dragon mat and a Grapha mat. Like, she actually has the artwork already done. I just want her to convert them into mats. But maybe someday.
Okay, we got 2 effect.
We had 2 effect dealers. I ended up not using them in our match because I wanted to keep more draw power, so I relied on Melinda's effect veilers over my own.
I was the defense.
Gemini Imps was just in case I went against Dark Worlds, because that is the bane of my existence. If a Dark World deck is going off, Exodia can cry. So Imps turns that around a little bit. Shadow and Prison Mirror, I wanted more, but just couldn't find them. At least not in time. But Shadow and Prison Mirror is good against Insectors and Dark Worlds. And any other random dark deck. Solemn Judgment and Solemn Warning form the Solemn Brigade. And these guys are actually hilarious in this deck because they cut our life points down really fast and make Hope for Escape a lot more dangerous. I had 2 backup soldier just in case I was up against a deck that was getting rid of my hand real fast, or in case I was up against a deck that I had to set pieces as a defense for.
Yeah, we didn't have a chance to duel one of the teams, but there's one team that did run Dark Worlds, and they had the...
They were doing... The team was Dark Worlds and Windups, the 2 most deadly anti-Exodia decks you could possibly run against.
I feel like people, for some reason, found out that we planned something, even though we didn't say anything.
Yeah, we didn't say
anyone.
anything. Nobody actually did know. It was just ironic, really.
Yeah, but that's okay. It was still a lot of fun.
And 1 Dark Factory of Mass Production. Again, if I had more, I would have run more, but it was... Most of this deck was just kind of hodgepodge together based on what I found locally. I didn't really order anything online. I mean, I ordered a few things online because I was going to make a different build, but then last minute I decided to switch to Hope for Escape, and I'm glad that I made that call because I feel like Hope for Escape may be slower than other Exodia builds, but it's a lot more consistent. Because you're either going to draw power or stall power, so it's pretty safe. And then 1 Dark Eruption, which brings... and I forgot, this brings 2 normal monsters that are small back to your hand, so like Limbs of Exodia, and then Dark Eruption will bring any kind of dark monster with 1500 attack or less, so this can bring any of these pieces back from the graveyard. And then I believe Backup Soldier is also normal monsters. Oh, no, it's not normal monster. Yeah, it is. Anyway, so yeah, Backup Soldier and this card were basically for the Limbs if I had to get them in the graveyard. So yeah. The final 2 cards were MSTs, which I ended up not using, so... Yeah, there's hope for Exodia. There's much hope.
I'm really tired.
Yeah, we're both tired. It was a long day, even though we didn't get to play a whole lot, but... It was still fun. Had a lot of fun with this deck. I'm going to go ahead and keep this deck for a while and just have fun with it. And I think Melinda's probably going to keep her trolling deck. Maybe we'll have more tag team opportunity with these 2 in the future.
I'll probably have to upgrade it to be a 60-card deck if it's by myself, though.
Yeah, well, we'll figure it out. Anyway, peace out, YouTube. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Feel free to tell people to subscribe to us. We're doing more videos now than we used to, and expect more from us in the future. Peace out.